Today's vlog started at 4:26 in the morning. I was sleeping to pick up my daughter Catrice from work. In a few days, I'll be starting the same overnight shift at Amazon, and I've been trying to figure out how I'm going to balance working, motherhood, two businesses, content creation, and some version of sleep. It had already started raining, but it quickly became much heavier. Water was beginning to collect in certain areas, but at this point, I still thought it was just another bad storm that would eventually pass by. I picked up Catrice, we drove home, and I got back into bed. My sleep schedule was already all over the place, but I still had a full day ahead of me. Later on that morning, I head out to do my auntie's hair. I was still following the plan for the day and taking care of everything I had already committed to. And somewhere between getting home and continuing my day, the storm had become much more serious. And around like 10:45 in the morning, my little daughter called me and let me know that the power had went out in the house. By the time I took Catrice back to work that evening, the rain had passed, but the effects of the storm were everywhere. We still did not have power in the house. Businesses throughout the area was closed, and there was no clear answer of when things would return back to normal. Even finding food became a big deal. Most of the restaurants near me were closed, so I ended up having to drive like 20 minutes away just to find somewhere that was still open. So then I ended up sitting in the line for Burger King for about 45 minutes. The traffic lights were out, the intersections were dark, and everybody seemed to be searching for the same places that still had electricity. That night, we ended the day with candlelight. I started the morning thinking about everything I needed to accomplish before returning back to work at Amazon. My only real plan was figuring out how to manage without power and without knowing when it would come back on. The next morning, the house was still completely dark and it was pitch black outside, okay? We slept in the living room with candles nearby, and at 4:13, I was back in the car to pick up the trees from work. Nothing about our responsibilities had stopped, even though everything around us had literally changed. Once the sun started to come back up, I can see more of what the storm had actually done. A whole tree had been pulled up completely out of the ground right on my block. It was becoming clear to me that this was not just a regular power outage. ComEd still didn't give us a restoration time, and DoorDash had shut down service in the area because of the severe weather. That mattered because DoorDash was part of my plan to bring in extra money before starting at Amazon. One storm had interrupted the power, my business work, and the income plan that I was dependent on the area before, so apparently the storm also came with unexpected wildlife. At that point, I just accepted that nothing about this day was going to be normal. I decided to try Starbucks because I needed electricity, I needed the internet, and just somewhere that I can work. Even getting there was a chore, okay? Debris was blocking all the streets, and I had to reverse down most of them just to find another way around. We finally made it to Starbucks, and then another storm came moving in, okay? And even the lights at Starbucks began flickering. Once I finally found a seat in an outlet, I started working on my websites. So from the outside, it probably looked like I was just simply sitting in Starbucks working on yet another business. But these businesses are connected to something much bigger than me. The Enterprise Collective was created for women who spend so much of their lives surviving that they no longer realize or recognize themselves outside of their responsibilities. Women who have learned how to keep the bills paid, care for everybody else, solve every problem, and keep moving even when they were exhausted. I know that woman because I'm still finding my way out of survival mode too. This business isn't being built from a place of having everything figured out. It's being built while I'm rebuilding my own identity, strengthening my faith, and trying to stabilize my finances, raising my kids, and learning how to create a life that doesn't require me to constantly abandon myself just to maintain it. The Rising Confection represents another part of that rebuilding. Baking has given me a way to create something joyful and beautiful with my own hands, while I also build another source of income for my family. One business is centered around helping women rise. The other creates moments of joy and celebration, but both of them represent the same thing to me: ownership, freedom, purpose, and the possibility of building a different future. That's why sitting in this crowded Starbucks mattered. I didn't have power at home. I did not have my normal workspace. I didn't even know when everything would return to normal, but I still have a mission. Sometimes rebuilding doesn't look powerful or inspiring. Sometimes it looks like waiting 30 minutes for an outlet and getting on my computer in a room with strangers and continuing to work on my future that I believe is possible, even while my current life feels so uncertain. At 9:39 that night, I finally received a notification that the power had been restored, and after spending almost 36 hours without having an estimated restoration time, seeing that message felt like a small victory. The next day, I returned to the work that I had planned before the storm. I started making my cement vessels for the Enterprise Collective, one of the many things still standing between me and finally launching. For months, I felt like all I've done is plan, prepare, test, adjust, and move the deadline again. And honestly, that has started to make me question whether I'm truly making progress or just staying busy around the thing that I'm afraid to finish. But these vessels were physical proof that I was moving forward. They weren't just another idea written in a notebook or another task transferred to tomorrow's list. They were something I could actually see taking shape in front of me. I'm still learning how to build two businesses while managing motherhood, money, work, and everyday life. Sometimes rebuilding looks inspiring to me, and other times it looks like making one vessel at a time in a small space while the rest of my life is waiting for my attention. It may not be happening as quickly or as perfectly as I imagined, but it's happening. And after 3 days of plans being interrupted, it felt good to put my hands back on something I could build for my future. Once DoorDash started operating again, I went back out to make whatever money I could. This season of rebuilding isn't only about websites, candles, or creating something beautiful. It's also about doing the practical work that keeps my family moving while those businesses are still growing. Chloe is starting school pretty soon, and she's literally outgrown practically her entire wardrobe. And the regular bills don't pause just because I'm building towards something bigger. Amazon will provide me more consistent income, but I haven't started yet, and the needs in front of me are happening right now. DoorDash may not be where I'm trying to stay, but right now it serves a purpose. Every delivery helps me cover something my family needs while giving me another day to keep building the income and the freedom I ultimately want. While driving, I'm finally seeing how much damage the storm had caused outside my immediate area. Trees were down, properties had been damaged, and a trampoline had been carried all the way to the side of the road. I had spent the previous 2 days focusing on keeping the household moving, finding power, getting Patrice to work, and just trying to stay positive. Seeing the damage made me realize how serious the storm had actually been and how fortunate we were that our biggest problem was temporarily losing electricity. I started this vlog because I wanted to document the days leading up to Amazon and everything I hope to accomplish before returning to work. I didn't expect for the first chapter to include a tornado, a power outage, closed businesses, or trying to work from a crowded Starbucks. But maybe this was the right way for the story to begin. Rebuilding my life isn't going to happen under perfect conditions. There will always be interruptions and responsibilities, unexpected expenses, and days when the plan just falls apart. The lesson from these 3 days wasn't that I handled everything perfectly. It was that when the lights came back on, I just picked up where I left off. The storm interrupted the plan, it did not end it. I now have 6 days before I start working overnight at Amazon, and there is still so much that I want to accomplish before my schedule completely changes. Over the next 6 days, I'm going to be taking you with me as I do everything I can to get my businesses closer to launch, prepare Chloe for school, create the income my family needs, and continue rebuilding my life in real time. So in the next vlog, I'll be getting back to work on the Enterprise Collective and shopping for a new wardrobe for Chloe, because apparently kids believe growing an entire size right before school is like some type of group project or something. So the storm may have interrupted the beginning of this countdown, but it didn't stop. I have 6 days left, so let's see how much rebuilding can happen before Amazon.